Hi guys, it's Laurie and today I'm back and I've basically had a new idea. Since I started the channel, I'd kind of been trying to think what I wanted the channel to specifically be about, and in the beginning I was like, it's not really gonna have a theme, it's just gonna be whatever I want it to be. And to a degree that's still the same, but there's one thing that I've kind of came up with that I actually really like the idea of, and hopefully you guys will like it too. And it's basically conspiracy theories.
Shot by a sniper hiding in a building.
Crap! I'm not becoming a conspiracy theories channel, but every now and again I'm gonna upload a video about different conspiracy theories because I just find them really interesting, personally, and obviously I know a lot of other people do and hopefully you guys do as well. But yeah, so that being said, this video is the first conspiracy theory on this channel, and it's a conspiracy theory. It's about the ancient Egyptians and the pyramids. It looks so ugly. So to get the information that I've got about them, I've kind of asked people that I know. I've got this one friend, and he was the one that actually got me started on this one. I thought it was really interesting when he was telling me about it, so I kind of went home and researched into it quite a bit, and I wrote down some information that I found in numerous different videos and articles about it to put in this video. So yeah. The main theme of this theory is that either were the Egyptians even human at all, or were they alien, or was they kind of working together to kind of produce the kind of things that they did do. And I'm going to explain that better now, so I'm just saying that's what it's mainly about. So there's 3 pyramids of Giza, yeah, and they're in Egypt, and the Great Pyramid, so I think the big one, I think it's the middle one, not 100%, I think it is though. That pyramid, basically, if you were to measure the length and width of that pyramid, so you get the perimeter of it, what you would get is the length as 3,043.433 feet, and then the width would be 3,023.139 feet. That's fine, there's nothing that you can really think of that, except for the fact that those figures correspond exactly to a specific fraction of the latitude and longitude of the equator. So, scaled up, that is an exact kind of correspondence to the circumference of the equator, as well as the measurement from the equator to the poles, in the world, yeah. And so from that gives you also, again, an exact measurement of the northern hemisphere, so the whole top portion of the globe, basically. And it's yes, that could be coincidence, I guess. It's an unlikely coincidence, and it could be, and that's what I thought when I found it out. But then I found out a lot of other things as well that was all of this together, how is that possibly a coincidence? Another thing is that everywhere on the planet, on a map, has a specific location, how far it is, degrees north and south of everything that, the specific location of where someone is. So where I am right now, I have a specific location in the world, and this pyramid, the Great Pyramid, its exact location is 29.9792458 degrees north. That's where it's situated. And the strange thing about that is that number sequence matches exactly to the speed of light travelling throughout space. Take that past number of its coordinates on the whereabouts of where it is, and then take the number for the speed of light travelling throughout space, which is 299,792,458 meters per second. That's really fast.
Whoa, what speed on that dog walk!
So yeah, so they match exactly and that was found by like satellites like above, things like that. So like another thing that you'd think with that is, how would they have possibly been able to get above into the sky back then, the Egyptians, to be able to work all of this out? Planes and like aeration, like it wasn't a thing back then. So it's just incredibly like difficult, like for me to like wrap my head around possible ways it could have happened. I don't know, you guys, like, what do you guys think? I don't really ever, it's really confusing. I think it's interesting though. The next point would be that ancient astronaut theorists, they suggest that evidence like of when you look at how they were built and where they were built and like the formations to where the three of them, because there's three of them together, where they were all placed, they suggested that possibly aliens could have been, or some sort of like extraterrestrial kind of like being or like thing, could have actually had an involvement in the building of the pyramids, because the way that they are situated matches to the constellation of Orion's belt, the three stars. I'll insert pictures of everything. I probably already have been doing, but yeah. So like the pyramids, and then you get Orion's belt, it's like the same. And that's also not the only place. There's also a site in Mexico that has three pyramids that as well, like the three pyramids of Giza, match up exactly to Orion's belt, the constellation. So what's going on there? This like again links back to the fact that they didn't have an aerial view of what they were doing, and without that surely they would have no way of being able to like align that with Orion's belt. Let me just like say, I know like the whole idea of aliens or like something like that, like it some people do see it as being quite far-fetched.
Mama called me on the phone asking if I'm still trapping. I'm like, no ma'am.
Me personally, like I definitely do believe in like some form of alien, like not like the kind that we all imagine with like big heads and like big eyes, things like that. Like don't imagine them to be like that, but I just find it really difficult to believe that we would possibly be the only things in the entire like universe, because if we are, then don't really get the point of anything.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So I think there has to be more, and just from what I found out and like from the rest of that I'm going to tell you, it does actually have like a bit of a point to kind of suggest that it could have been possible, but we'll see, who knows. Going back to how we were saying like that they don't have the aerial view from above, they also didn't have compasses, and the pyramids are all aligned and like were constructed with them to like the North Pole, like the exact like, I don't know what the word is, but like they would go exactly to the North Pole the way that they point. And that, like, to me, how do you get it so specific without like a compass or anything like that? And I know that you can find north, south, east and west and whatnot throughout like looking at, is it like the moon and like the sky? I know you can do that, and I know that I think you can do it with the wind and things like that. So yeah, it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely that you'd get it so smack on, dead perfect all those years ago. And then so that's another thing to me, it's like we think we're improving now, but are we? Or like, are we getting worse? Because if it isn't aliens and it was people back then, how have we gone from being able to do that to where we are now? Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems so technically difficult, and if they've managed to pull that off, then that's just incredible to me. But yeah. Another thing that I found out was that even the technology we have today would prove extremely difficult to be able to do the things that they were doing back then. And if we can't do that now, either we have got so much less advanced, or there's something going on back then that's either provided help for them, or I don't know. But I don't know, I just find it really interesting, to be honest. And I'm not very good at science and maths, so like when I'm talking about the latitude and longitude of things and things like that, like I don't understand it fully, but I can get from the numbers, I understand like the idea of it and what they're saying. So like, don't think you have to be really smart to watch this, because I really don't get the numbers at all, but I understand what it's telling me, and that's the key thing really. So, moving on, one of the other strange factors about how they've got everything so precise is to do with the summer solstice. Back then, like, they wouldn't have known the duration of how long a year was going to be, and they wouldn't have known the exact times when the summer solstice was about to happen. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last word right. I think it might be solstice, actually. Yeah, just pretend I've been saying that. Why is it that if they didn't know that, on the evening of a summer solstice, can the sun be seen directly in between like two of the pyramids? So if they're going up like this at each side, the sun is smack bang in the centre, like a half circle. I mean, I've looked at the pictures of it and it is actually beautiful and it looks so nice, but how did they do that back then? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. Like, I wish I knew the answer, and that's the only thing I don't like about conspiracy theories, because we never actually really know the answer behind them, and I don't know if we ever will, but I do kind of think it's just fun to kind of think about it anyway and get like your own opinion. So yeah. From that, the idea about those different points is that basically the Egyptians must have had some type of superior technology to be able to get all of these things so precise like they have done, and it's just the theory behind, was it them doing it? Was it them with help from others doing it? Or was they even like human? Because it's like when you look at the hieroglyphs that they leave in like tombs and they're called like chiseled into rock and stone, all of them are kind of out of this world kind of creatures and like drawings, and that is, some people do believe that that's kind of a sign that they left behind for future generations to kind of see that someone else has been there. And so yeah, maybe they were just really creative and good drawers, but at the same time these images, they're not entirely of human origin. To me, like, represents something larger than life, like, so to say. I'm not sure. That's not the only thing though. You also get the Mesoamerican pyramids and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia. So there was, these buildings are aligned like exactly to cardinal points and like embody mathematical concepts, and it's like kind of, I mean, I didn't know this until I found this out. It said that maths is kind of the universal language, so if someone or something was to come to this world from somewhere else, it's most likely that they're going to speak to us and communicate with us throughout maths. They're not going to speak English, obviously, or whatever language like the people speak from that country, anything like that. So it's kind of just, it's interesting to think about. That's all I can say really, because I can't provide any answers or anything like that. I just think it's really interesting, and I think it's worth people knowing, to be honest. So moving on from that, there's only two more points that I really want to make about this. The first one is, and it's still to do with like the alien kind of idea of it, but it's basically that when we've like found like sculptures from back then and we have them all in like museums and everything, you can see from the measurements the necks to the rib cage, like the length is a lot longer than like a typical human of today. Now I'm not entirely sure like what I think of this, because of like, obviously there's evolution and things like that, so that obviously could have possibly changed, and without doubt I think that is probably the most likely theory about that one. But again, when I look at it, when you also see some of the skulls or the heads on some of these sculptures, the skulls like extend like right back here, and you'd kind of think that if that wasn't correct, then whoever was sculpting these, like the sculptor, would probably have lost his job and somebody else would have taken over, you know what I mean? So that's kind of suggesting that is really what they looked like back then. But again, evolution, you know, like, it could just be down to that, and that's why I'm not as sure about that theory. So still kind of like interesting to think about, because we don't really know, to be honest. So yeah. Okay, so the last point that I want to make is about how they actually built the pyramids, because I think for a long time, like up until recently, I think up until the Eiffel Tower was built, the pyramids, or the Great Pyramid, the big one, I think that was the highest man-made structure ever built from thousands and thousands of years ago. Like, I don't know, I just think it's incredible really. Like, but basically the idea is, how did they make these big massive like massive buildings all that time ago, because the stones used, each of them weigh about 2.5 tons, like roughly, and that's pretty heavy. So let me find out what that's kind of in comparison to, just to get like a better understanding. Things that weigh 2.5 tons. So according to this, 2.5 tons, it's about 1 2/5 times as heavy as a car. That's really quite heavy for them to have moved back then, you know what I mean? And the theories behind it, do you know what I mean? And that's really going to have been quite difficult for them to have moved back then. So I didn't just leave it there, I kind of also looked into the theories of how they would have moved these things, and there was two like main ones that I managed to find. So the first one was that they built ramps going up to the pyramids, and hundreds of men would have kind of hauled these rocks or like these stones up these slopes all together to get them up there. They didn't have like wheels or anything back then, like it had not been an invention yet. So it would have been like kind of, I imagine it to maybe have been on like ski type things, like sleds. Obviously like a much bigger version, but I imagine that's how it would have kind of moved along. I think that's one of the theories. Someone did suggest that the ramps could have wrapped around the pyramids and upwards to get them there, but then there was the whole point that the material to build the ramps would be just as much as the pyramid, and therefore it's not really anything worth doing. The other theory about how they could have moved the stones was by using buoyancy, so water. So there was the idea that they had the stones in water with little pressure chambers, so they're in one bit and then the pressure chamber comes across here, so it kind of blocks off like a door really, and then this other one opens and it pushes it up and shuts and so forth until you kind of get to the height that you need it to be at for that certain area of like building. But with that, you would have needed a hell of a lot of water, and they're in like the middle of the desert. And yes, there's like the River Nile and everything, but it's still like a lot of water that they would have had to transport. So I don't know, like the theories aren't impossible, but it's like it would have taken a lot of effort. But saying that, the pyramids in themselves would have taken a lot of effort, and it's still somehow managed to have been done, so who really knows? So yeah, that's kind of basically the main things I found out about it. So yeah, I find it so interesting really. I could watch videos for hours, like kind of learning about it, and I just kind of like stuff like that. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you want, like, put your thoughts down like in the comment thing below, just because I find it interesting to know what other people think of this as well, and if you think this is like something that you'd be interested in like watching. In the upcoming weeks I will be uploading more videos on different conspiracy theories, so just give this video a like, subscribe and hit the thumbs up button if you want to see more. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you, promise anything, hopefully soon. See you later, bye.